managed to get a lot in 20 minutes. Oh my God. Jeez.
All right then. First, want to give thanks and praise to the Most High. Inside the house, we have the great man Edison.
Thank you.
And I've been talking about this man here to many people, you know. And this brother has really set the trend when it comes to the thing about spirituality, spiritual awakening, ancestors. I mean, I've done a lot from his brother for the last few weeks, you know. And I'm still taking notes and still trying to follow him and still taking much information. So I want to give thanks to Brother Edison again. And again, the House of Consciousness, you know, that's what we're about, you know. We just want to keep it real. So, first time I met you was we done the radio interview.
That's
and then
right.
At the event, Spiritual Awakening.
That's right, that's right, that's right.
You know, it's a shame you never had much time to really go into your subject matter, but what you give them, you kind of sparkle. But talk about the event and how do you find the event? How did that event come about as well?
In truth, it was by pure chance. It was a case where I was speaking to the organizer and she called me up for something else because I used to have a flyers company and she called me out to ask to have some flyers done. And we started speaking about different things. I said, what event are you doing? She said, oh, Wisdom and Vitality. I said, sounds interesting. That's something I would like to go and do. I said, well, look, I have... don't worry about the flyers because I don't do that anymore. But I have a website called Ancestral Essence. And she goes, Ancestral Essence, that sounds interesting. And I said, yeah, we created a website effectively so we can promote African intelligence in a way that can be comprehended by the masses. The problem we have is that whenever you say Ifa, one of these other traditional subjects, people automatically go to the negative without actually hearing what it's about. And I also remember back in the day when I did a philosophy class, they said that there's no credible African wisdom at all. That's crazy, man. That the stuff that we come out with and what we understand is way beyond the stuff that you're speaking of. You're speaking of mundane physical reality when we're speaking about the energies that created those realities.
Right.
So, yeah. So on that day, my intention was effectively, because it was about the power of the mind. So my aim was really just to explain that the mind is really, as we call it, the operating system of your spirit as it interfaces with this reality. This is, you're looking out at the world. So you're actually the energy inside looking out. And the problem is you need something which is the mind in order to translate all the information coming from the external world and then project it as an image, what you call in your mind.
Okay. Also, we need to pick up Sister Alexi.
Yes, it's Alexi, because if not for her,
for
pure
her.
chance.
Yeah, that's right.
And then I end up meeting Dougie, and then all of this is has transpired from there.
So we need to pick her up, and we know she'll be watching this and say, yo, you know, so I want to jump in here because, you know, when I speak about ancestors, you know, you really give it some clarity what ancestors are about, and from what you're saying, that ancestors speak to you, communicate with you, and actually more channeling and so on. In terms of ancestors, just break down what do you mean by ancestor, because those who are listening right now, in terms of the channeling side of stuff.
Well, the funny thing is, because we think of it as channeling, but every thought we have is a channel. We're literally taking it from a different part of what we call our mind, which is really a place, and we're bringing that information into our conscious forefront before we then explain what it is that we're seeing in our mind. So again, the ancestors are really us. We always say we're an ancestor's return because effectively the cycle of mother and father and child just keeps on going. You'll look at one of your children and say, that looks just like my grandfather. You know, he has the essence and the ways of my grandfather. To our understanding, your grandfather has come back into this reality. He still exists as an ancestor, but when he decided he has more things to do, he breaks off a bit of his consciousness and then has it come through a womb, which is the gateway into this reality. So it'll come through a room, hopefully within the family that he was within.
Right. Because speaking to you, I speaking to Sister Alexis as well, that children, they naturally communicate with the ancestors.
The thing is, a child hasn't been told that it can't.
Yes, okay.
And the thing is, a child, when it looks at the world, its language is really speaking to the frequency of what it sees. So the sound it creates is basically a reflection of the thing that it's seeing. So when it sees an object, it says, well, goo gag or whatever it is. And we're looking at it and saying, okay, what's this child doing? And the child's looking at this, speaking to this and speaking to that. And we're thinking the child is, you know, stop doing that, stop doing that. But if you look at a cat, it does exactly the same thing. Maybe not speaking, but the cat is looking at objects moving around at the same time.
Right.
So whereas the child can see the objects moving around, so can the cat, because it hasn't been told that it can't. If you actually went into the animal kingdom and saw the things that we did, if we noticed what they did, we would see that we have basically filtered out all the images that are around us in a certain room. You can go into a room and refocus your mind and be able to see someone sitting in the chair. Or if I'm saying I'm looking at a chair, I can say, okay, I'm looking at it at this moment, but the essence of everyone that sat in that chair is still there. So if you can shut down your mind, you can see the images and start to describe all the people that were in that chair at a given time. Your mind has the ability to be able to reconstruct the particles of the essences of the energies that were there and reformulate it as an image in your mind, which you can then describe.
Okay. I want to jump in and ask a question about how you look at your thing about God. And the reason why I want to ask about God, because, as you know, there's different kind of concept about God.
Of course.
I mean, one person says God's in the sky somewhere. Some say God's down on the ground somewhere. You know, and I'm saying if it's in the ground, whereabouts? Let's go for it. Let's look for it.
Let's dig for it.
Let's dig for it. Some says in the sky. I say, all right, then, which part of the sky?
Exactly.
Let's go, take a plane and go up there.
Exactly.
You know, so, I mean, you know, so I want to.
The sky thing is the old term, the heavens, was, you know, what the Jews called sky. So when they used to worship the sun. So when they say God in the heavens, they were talking about the sun in the sky. And it was a translation of the Egyptian concepts that came before them. But essentially, a man needs a concept in order to survive. He's been taught not to trust his own energy and his essence and the idea of who he is. So effectively, when they introduce the concept, there's questions he can't ask anymore because he's forgotten how to ask himself.
Right.
So what it is, when someone gives him a breakdown and say, you've got he's, you know, humans, they're funny. Time is merely the distance between two thoughts. So if you're stuck in this thought, hours could go by until you've worked out what it is. But to you, not a minute has gone by because you're stuck. So time, as far as your mind is concerned, is by the time it takes you to work out a concept. Now, these characters, effectively, when it comes to the concept of God, they couldn't work out the problem. So someone had to give them an answer so that they can then stop thinking about it and move on to something else.
Right, okay.
So they gave her a concept of a God. Every area has one, but the difference between the ones in the West and the ones in Africa is the case where Africa, you can interact with these energies. There's divination tools where you can do that. The same in China with the I Ching. The Japanese have theirs, the Indians have theirs. Everyone around the world has it, apart from the modern Western religions. The old English had the runes, the rune stones. Everyone had a way to interact with these energies that surround them, with the nature beings, with the various energies that were protecting them and helping them.
So what you're saying is that is our religion, between African and traditional religion, is about really interacting with the God's energy.
The African, be it from the ancestors, from my understanding, is they want you to return back to you.
Okay.
As our learned friend was saying, essentially, you don't need books. I know they say you need books, but don't get me wrong, your ancestors will guide you to books because they're trying to find a language which you have an understanding so that they can communicate with you. But once you've made that connection, all of a sudden, it's like everything. If you ask a question of yourself, it goes to your memory. But the problem is your memory is given to you by somebody else. So you're talking about their memorized concepts, whereas you have the ability to go inside yourself. And when you go inside yourself, you go into the libraries of the universe. And when them come back with information, all of a sudden you'll ask a question, what is water? And they'll say hydrogen 12, but you'll see that it has a female side, it has a male side. Yeah, two concepts come together. You also realize that there's an energy that is fusing those gases to become a solid subject. But no one speaks of that energy. So that energy is really what water is. Water is the byproduct of an intelligence. The same thing with fire. Again, it's an intelligence heating the air to create the object to burn. But no one is doing that. So when you go back into yourself, when you ask those questions, they'll say, hold on, do you understand this? You say, no. So, well, therefore, you know, your logic is based on your experience. So if you have not the experience or the knowledge, your logic is not going to be very good. So the deeper you can go back inside yourself, the more information you can basically come at a logical answer. So when someone's coming to you and they're saying, I've got a problem, you look at them and say, what idea are you stuck on? They say, excuse me? They say, well, you have an idea which you can't get beyond. And that idea is literally now becoming so huge and an issue to you, you're starting to physically feel the idea.
The other thing about religion, how do you see the other thing of how people look at religion today? You're kind of touching it still, but how do you look at the other thing about religion?
Religion, okay, religion was created to give you an idea of how things should be, or how a concept of a God. But essentially, you, as I say, your Bible should be the stories of your life. Because only if you understand the stories of your life will you understand who you are.
I like what you said that. Should be the story of your life.
Should be the stories of your life. I don't need to know what Abraham did. Don't need to know what whatever did. I can learn those other day and I can pick up certain points. But my life happens in a specific order. We say that your soul writes the script and your body is just, or your consciousness is just watching the script. So every day you have is scheduled. No incident happens by accident. Everything you do in a day is set in order. Who you're going to meet, who you're not going to meet. We say your life, your life, your journey, your life is your journey.
Yes.
That's what you're here for. And the people you meet are your destinations. Because and everything else is merely just scenery.
Because you're right. Because you know, life is a journey.
It's all the journey.
Life is definitely a journey, and it's sometimes part of your journey. You're gonna meet people, and you have some people who give some challenges, but in a way they're like mirrors.
All of them.
Teach you something about yourself. I mean, a good example would be relationship, or a woman being in an abusive relationship, and she'll leave that abusive relationship and go another abusive relationship. There's a pattern there, right? It's not about that person, it's not about you. Or you're trying to speak with your life. So those people teach something about yourself, like mirrors teach something about yourself.
That's right.
You know, so you're right. So people come in your life for teach something about yourself. When you think about it, we turn his head now, you know. And it's a journey.
I remember my very first teacher, and he said to me, Eddie, that you're going to have a bad relationship, and that's going to teach you about relationships. And if you don't have one of those things and go through it, when people come to you to ask you questions later on, you're not going to have any information to give them. You won't have no experience to draw on to say, yeah, I've been through that, I've been through this, I've been through that. And what I found life is a series of people coming, bringing stories, so that when other situations come along, you say, oh, I can help you with that. You know, they say if a man goes to a doctor and gives him he says, what's your symptoms? And the man says something that the doctor's never heard. He says, I can't help you. He can't help you unless he's heard that before. So essentially, relationships, all things like that, are learning. I say my relationships have been, you know, school, university, and what have you, because out of those, I learned how to deal with life. They don't also go into the fact that as you think, so you attract.
Yes.
So therefore,
Mm.
you basically create a magnetic frequency which attracts certain people that are thinking at the level that you are
Yeah.
to you.
Yeah. Talk about stories, because you mentioned a little bit about stories, and I'm glad you mentioned it because we're doing an event around Les Brown,
Okay.
and Les Brown's a great, we have stories, great telling stories, right? And it's kind of prompted me now to, start telling my story. I start
Excellent.
talk about stories now. I want you to share your thing, the importance of telling stories. Because you see much about stories, and it's important that you start articulate your story, your journey, because it's a story to the world.
Effectively.
Yeah.
There's a saying that a story is like welcoming a good friend. Once you get a good story come along, it basically, you come alive, you become joyous and what have you. And all of us are really just stories. Imagine our names is the name of the project we've embarked on in this life. So we start with our story and then we break down from there.
Yeah.
This is my name. This is my family. This is where I went to school. This is where I've worked. And then we bring down all this information down. And then we speak about how through the, childhood, parent, all the different stages, we actually come to find out who we are. I say a person's personality is based on how well they dealt with their childhood. If they haven't dealt with that, essentially that whole memory issue locks them in that stage. You'll see someone that had a bad event happen at a certain stage, and their voice stays at that level. You'll see a big woman speaking like a little girl because her voice never matured beyond that event that took place.
It's interesting, and I'd like to elaborate that in the near future, definitely. But we've got about 2 minutes left.
Go ahead.
Right? I want to just make sure you give it your Facebook, your emails and
Facebook.
details.
Please, if you can, go to Ancestral Essence. We've got different stories covering all different aspects, from childbirth, from how the mind works, to you name it, everything pertaining to how all the bodies come, how all the parts of the body are separate individual intelligence by themselves, and they came together to lead under the head, which is an old Ifa story. So we're trying to bring all the different African concepts, and we don't mention the names of the gods and the energies. The reason being is we don't want someone to be triggered by a term. This is read the essence of what the person's saying, because that's all the story was really trying to do. So we convey the story without all the terms and the names and what have you, so people don't get sidetracked and start telling me, oh no, this Orisha did that. No, just tell you the story as it is, and you pick up from it what you can.
Okay. So at this point here, I want to give thanks to Edison, who joined us. And again, we're in the House of Consciousness, so I want to give thanks and praise to the Most High. Give thanks.
Thank you.